which is Neopop Biography, 10th anniversary. We are still just good. The book did come out 5 to 6 years ago, I believe, but I never bought it. I wanted to buy it at the time, but I didn't. Instead, I bought it last week. Well, we are in lockdown, so I thought, why not? One thing is important to say about me is I don't like to read. I have actually never ever read a book in my life from start to finish until this very first book. This was my first book ever. And I have to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's really, really good. I will give straight out, if you want to leave the video right now, I'll tell you it's a 9 out of 10. However, there are things I didn't like so much, and I'll get into it very soon. So let's say, first of all, it's important to say why I wanted to buy this book. The reason I wanted to buy the book was because I'm very passionate about the business behind festivals, behind artist management, etc. It's something I really enjoy. For you, DJs and producers might be someone who motivates you into being into this scene. You might want to be one of them, per se. Whereas me, I thought music motivates me. Of course, I love it. But for me, what motivates me, what drives me, are people like Gustavo, who are one of the festival owners, in this case Neopop, are people who, for example, created Elro, people who created Printworks in London, Fabric, things like that. Those people, those business people who have the brain to create something where everyone wants to go to and meet at one place, to me those people are like almost like godlike. They inspire me. I want to be like them. And that's why I bought the book, because I thought the book would be an account of how things went from day zero to today, how the hardships, the challenges, maybe some figures, maybe they would say how much it costs to create a stage, how much did they spend in marketing, how they did it, how they got from point A to point B, why did they decide to do Y and not X, and things like that. Unfortunately, they don't. How the chapter runs is very simple. The book runs is very simple. There are 9 chapters. Each chapter is one edition of the festival, and then the 10th chapter is the last one, is them as a PR. They kind of use it as a PR to talk about the lineup for the for the 10th edition. Of course, that's fine, but it wasn't what I was expecting. And unfortunately, it does get a bit stale. It gets a little bit boring because it gets very repetitive. Every chapter is the same almost. It's like, we confirmed X artist played Y, X artist had this reaction from the public, he said this, the public said this, and then we move along. And that's it, kind of. They do sprinkle in and there, here and there, different information about the festival. Little stories I really enjoyed, and they're very funny. For example, the very first story they tell in the book is that the very first edition, everything's about to happen, and then they realized cables are missing. And you mean, how can you forget about cables in a festival? Without cables, things don't run, which is strange, but still. And then they managed to find cables, and it cost them 10,000 euros, which is, a lot of money. So it begs me to question, what kind of cables were you missing? And how did you forget about them? And what cables were you missing? So please, anyone from Neopop, let me know. I'm very interested in that. So it's that kind of stories I would like to know. Unfortunately, there's not many of them. And those other stories, from my perspective, where I didn't go to any of the first 10 editions, I don't have the feeling of nostalgia. I don't have the feeling of sadness if I felt sad in a concert, or happy in a concert, or euphoric. Whatever feeling you might felt if you did go, I didn't feel it while reading it. Whereas you, who's watching this, and you did go to one of those 10 editions, and you felt, most likely you'll feel nostalgia, most likely you'll feel happiness, sadness, euphoria, whatever feeling you did feel during those concerts, you will feel again reading this. And to you, this might be amazing, that'd be an amazing part. To me, it's not so much. So this isn't really a negative point, it depends where you come from. It depends if you went to the festivals or if you didn't. Nevertheless, there are good things about it too. For example, one thing I got from it is like I read about a Ben Clock before he was the person he is today. The same thing goes for Nina Kravis or Paul Kalkbrenner. All of those artists played at Neopop and have a relation with the festival before they became anyone. By that I mean before they became famous. Uh, and another thing, reading the book, going through every single chapter, there was this feeling of, it feels like it didn't change, if that makes sense. It feels like the festival has always stayed the same. And don't get me wrong, that's a very good thing, because the festival, it feels very true to itself, to its roots. It feels very real, it doesn't feel like it changed to please the crowd. It stayed for the music, about the music, full stop. Reading the festival, I have been to Neopop since, of course, and it still feels the same. For example, it still feels a very family-run business, although it's clearly a very well-run festival. It's a very friendly festival. It's all about the music, and to me, that still feels the same. So by reading it, I could still feel like I didn't go to those editions, but I know it didn't change that much since then till now, which is great. So overall, the book is absolutely amazing. I recommend. As I said, I don't like to read, but I read this within 6 hours, and you can see it's pretty thick. It's about 400 pages, but it has English, Portuguese, so about 200 pages. I recommend it. It's amazing. I loved it, and I recommend it. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Goodbye.